on today's episode of Secondary Podcast, we're going to educate you on all things that pertains to bone degeneration in children. And we're going to lay emphasis on rickets, which has become a very common problem in Nigeria. Over 9% of all children in Nigeria actually have this condition. And one of the significant evidence of this is by the formation of the bone. So today, we're just going to make you more enlightened on what to watch out for to avoid such an occurrence from happening to your child. Let's talk about the bone. The bone is basically made up of collagen, which is a protein, and the major mineral, which is calcium. So the collagen actually gives it the framework, which makes it have its structure within. Then the calcium is what hardens the bone, which prevents it from becoming brittle, thereby leading to breakage. We also have the outer part of the bone, which is called the compact or cortical bone. Then we have the inner part, which is like a lattice structure, or is also called cancellous, or like a spongy structure whereby the bone marrow is embedded in. In terms of how the bone is formed, there are so many things that are involved in it. We have the osteoblasts, we have the osteocytes, we also have the osteoclast. Now, the osteobite basically involves in formation of new bone. Osteoclast is when old bone is broken down, and then osteocytes are the agents that are necessary in this total reaction. So when all these things are in their right form, the bones will always be forming properly, and then you will not have any issues with breakages or brittle bone, which sometimes occur when it comes to people that have osteoporosis, whereby as the bone gets old, it's not forming new bone as fast as it should. Any little injury or any little fall can lead to breakage. A lot of times, people feel that when it comes to bone degeneration, it only pertains to elderly people, especially elderly women. But it has been shown now that there are so many factors that can actually lead to bone degeneration. We have the area of nutrition, whereby children, especially when they lack in some certain vitamins or minerals, they tend to start having brittle bones. We're going to now discuss on the various bone disorders that we have. So like I said, the first one is rickets. And rickets basically means a deficiency of vitamin D, which leads to curvature of the bones, especially found in children. This basically causes children having brittle bones, curved bones, especially when it comes to their legs. They have a form of distension of their abdomen, and the head has a particular shape. And as a result of that, if these children don't have quick intervention, they tend to have a lot of mobility issues, pain in their joints, and even sometimes they are prone to fractures. Then we have the genetic disorders, which causes bone deformations. The first one is Marfan syndrome, and that could result from when there's a particular gene that a parent would have, which is recessive in that parent. Then, of course, when he now meets with the other parent and the child is born, that recessive gene, which is the FBN1, will be passed on to the child. Then the child will have an issue with his bone development. We have scoliosis, though not genetic, but basically that one means that the spine has a certain curve-like nature and is always seen mostly in teens. That one would be resolved by surgical intervention. Then we have osteopetrosis, also a genetic disorder. As a result of that, the bone of the child is also brittle and can break easily. Then the last one we have is osteogenesis imperfecta. The child will have a brittle bone, and then sometimes the bone becomes a bit too dense. So the flexibility of the child's movement is very limited. So these are the things that one should look out for when one's child is developing. Once your child starts exhibiting some certain mobility issues, it will be good for you to quickly see a consultant to see what can be quickly done to the child and to resolve that medical challenge. Now we're going to go into rickets in major. Rickets majorly is found in children from the age of 1 upwards. It has been discovered that this is majorly a deficiency challenge. Rickets is something that it has been found very prevalent, especially with children that are either malnourished or children that have food issues, because definitely when there's a deficiency, it's as a result of a child missing a vital nutrient or mineral in their diet. Then one of the things that it's also an issue with rickets is that the bone is very soft. The children tend to have pain in walking, and then when they have a fall, they develop breakages easily. A form of rickets can actually be found in adults. It's actually called osteomalacia, but that one is something that once the adult has a supplement of vitamin D, there is drastic improvement. For children that tend to have rickets, one of the key things that is essential for that child is exposure to sunlight. When a child it tends to stay indoors most of the time, they are prone to developing rickets. So when the child is not exposed to sunlight, the vitamin D that could have been produced by the exposure of the sunlight to the skin is missing. So that child will need supplementation. Then of course, we have other children that have allergies to things like dairy. So they are missing out in calcium. So because they're missing out in calcium, the body will now start to compensate by taking out the calcium in the bone, whereby leading to brittle or malformed bone. So in such cases, when you have a child that has dairy allergies, or you have a child on a special formula that milk cannot be introduced to the diet of the child, that means that that child should ensure there is a supplementation through vitamin D, or calcium is included in the diet, whereby the child is getting adequate calcium intake. So the calcium can actually be gotten from your leafy greens. The calcium can actually even be gotten from the food the child eats, or if possible, the calcium can be gotten from supplements that it can be bought in the pharmacy. Then another aspect of improving on the child's overall well-being is engaging in physical activity. One of the things that we have advantage over is when the child is young, ensure that the child has enough activities done in school, especially when it comes to physical education. So children like that should go for walks, they should engage in exercise, they should join the swimming club, things that would improve on the fitness of their leg. Then they should not encourage sedentary lifestyle. That means that, when the child gets back from school, they're just sitting, there is no much physical activity. And of course, as children grow older, when you supplement, the bone density will improve. Even with adults too, you cannot avoid ensuring that adults that tend to have such issues like osteomalacia, they should also involve in physical activity and supplementation. Then enough sunlight. Sunlight is one of the key things, but the sunlight is the first sunlight in the day. So between the hours of 6:30 to 7:30, the children should be out about, because when the sun hits the skin, that is the ability for the body to produce enough vitamin D, which will help to nourish and improve on the upkeep of calcium into the bone. When it comes to medications that children are taking, we must also remember very well that there are some supplements that don't do well with some other supplements. When you are taking calcium and your child is also on iron or blood tonics that contain iron, ensure that those tonics are not taken with calcium, because calcium interrupts the absorption of iron. So if the calcium is going to be taken in the morning, the iron should be taken in the evening or afternoon. Then also remember that anytime you are supplementing your children with any sort of mineral or vitamins, make sure they take them with meal, because that also improves the upkeep of such. When you take supplements, you want to see it working. So it's better that you imbibe by all this. Remember very well that your children's care is in your hands. So if you have noticed any sort of disorder, especially when it comes to even the way they walk, if you notice that your child is not standing up straight, or maybe there is a disorder somewhere, or maybe during a routine checkup, you notice that there was a deficiency, then it's ideal that you quickly speak to your healthcare practitioner or your physician, so that they can quickly resolve it. Any sort of abnormality can be resolved quickly as long as the right intervention is put into place. So thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Circle Direct Podcast. We believe that everything we have said today has been of immense benefit to you. We are here to empower you to have the best information for your overall wellness. Do feel free to always drop comments on any other topic you love us to cover. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with people that have children, and maybe these children are on some certain food that might seem that these children will be lacking in some essential vitamins. So once they have this information, they will be quick to resolve any unforeseen challenge that might come up later in life. We appreciate you for your feedback always, and we believe that as we are on this channel together, we will grow together. Have a wonderful day.